What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Call of Duty on BlackTideTV. In the video today, we'll be breaking down the Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer gameplay reveal event, which was today, or more accurately yesterday by the time this video goes live, August 1st, 2019. This was the gameplay event that we have been waiting for quite some time. Our first real look at multiplayer gameplay with the multiplayer reveal trailer, a 3-minute long trailer that revealed quite a lot, as well as a 3.5 hour long live stream from all of the official Call of Duty accounts, where they sat down with developers and they talked about a lot of the changes to the game, how it's different from previous games, and quite honestly, they revealed a lot in this live stream. I was very happy with how much they revealed. Of course, there were some very obvious omissions of what they didn't want to tell us. Microtransactions, I'm looking at you. But in the video today, I wanted to break down a lot of the things that we learned in that multiplayer reveal event during that live stream, during that trailer. I was taking a ton of notes. They are not in any particular order, though I do have about 4 categories that I've grouped them into. Starting with the intro, I wanted to make some opening remarks. The game itself, where we're talking about the differences in this game versus previous games, and score streaks and things like that. Create a class and weaponry is our third category, and that's probably the largest of the 4. And then last but not least, the game modes, because they did debut a bunch of really cool new game modes. Now, unfortunately, the gameplay that you are watching is not Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which isn't in fact a remaster of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it's a remaster of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Very confusing stuff, but unfortunately, my invite to this reveal event to capture gameplay and to live stream and all that good stuff, it must have got lost in the mail. So next year, it's okay guys, I totally understand. Next year, I will be patiently waiting by my letterbox for my invite. But for now, we're looking at Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Remastered gameplay while we talk about the new game. Getting started with some opening remarks about the live stream itself, it's incredibly refreshing to see that the developers are actually very excited to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This is a true passion project for them, whereas with previous titles like Infinite Warfare, for example, during that event reveal, the same developers like Joe Seco and Ashton Williams, they came out and they talked about their game, and they put on their fake smiles and they kind of said, yeah, I put a lot of time and effort into this game, I'd really appreciate if you guys could play it for me. But you could also kind of tell they weren't exactly happy with the finished product. Whereas with Modern Warfare, they couldn't hide that or fake it if they tried. They were excited about Modern Warfare, and for good reason. I'm pretty excited about it just after watching that reveal. There was a lot to unpack. Strangely enough, there was a lot of sports talk during the downtime between gameplay sessions on the official Call of Duty streams. I guess the hosts of the stream itself were esports commentators. I think you call them codcasters. I'm not a big esports or sports guy. They had the US women's soccer team there playing Call of Duty at the reveal event, which is cool for them, but I don't know, the whole sports Call of Duty crossover has always left me kind of scratching my head. Like, what does sports have to do with Call of Duty? I don't know, but that happened, and they talked a lot about sports, like way too much about sports for my personal comforts, which was just strange. And there was a lot of downtime because some of the bigger game modes, the 10v10 and 20v20 that we'll be talking about later in the video, they crashed a lot. And that was just because it's an early build of the game and they've got all of these people streaming their own separate streams. Like, there was a lot going on there technology-wise. So when the game comes out at launch, I expect that the games won't crash as often, hopefully, pray to God. They didn't talk about Battle Royale whatsoever, I just wanted to put that out there, though there have been rumors that there will be a Battle Royale mode added to Call of Duty Modern Warfare about a month after the game comes out, and it's being developed by Raven. There's also been a lot of rumors recently about a free-to-play mode for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, one of the modes being free-to-play. It would make the most sense for the Battle Royale to be the free-to-play mode, and to just not actually have it as part of Modern Warfare at all, but to ship it separately as its own independent thing. That would be the best. I've actually made a full video on that, and that link will be in the description down below. But otherwise, there were no mentions of Battle Royale whatsoever. They were very focused on multiplayer and multiplayer only during this live stream. And last but not least, they were sure to shove it down your throat at every chance they could. The open beta for Call of Duty Modern Warfare starts September 12th, and that is the advanced access beta. So if you pre-order, you get an extra couple days ahead of everyone else, and also PlayStation 4 gets a weekend ahead of time, and then all of the consoles get a full weekend at the end. But if you pre-order on any console, you get an extra couple days before your weekend on either of the 2 weekends. I guess if you're on PlayStation 4, you get 4 extra days. I don't know, just pre-order the game and you'll get advanced access to their open beta. Now getting into the game section, so there is no season pass and no DLC. They have 100% confirmed this. No season pass whatsoever, and there's going to be a free content stream throughout the life of the game. Does that mean no microtransactions? Absolutely not. And that is the big thing that a lot of people are omitting from their reviews of Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer gameplay reveal. They're like, oh my god, look at all the cool new guns, look at this and that. They didn't say a word about microtransactions, and that scares me. That's the biggest thing that I wanted them to touch on during this reveal. I wanted Joe Cott, or whoever is in charge of Infinity Ward these days, to walk out on the stage from the very get-go and say, look it, there's not going to be any supply drops in this game. And the second that they didn't do that, alarm bells are going off in my head. They're ringing, and I'm scared that microtransactions are going to ruin this game, especially given a lot of the new creative class systems like the Gunsmith. We'll get into that in just a moment, but there's some very clear, like very obvious, like you can put microtransactions in here and it will just work wonderfully for making people spend money. So I'm really scared that microtransactions are going to take over this game, and it's frightening that they haven't said anything about it. They could have at least mentioned, like, yeah, we are going to have microtransactions, but they're cosmetics only. They didn't even say that, so that makes me panic. The last little concerning the game element I'd like to bring up in today's video is crossplay, which has been confirmed and is functionable in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. At the stream event itself, there were multiple players playing on PlayStation 4 against people with mouse and keyboard on PC. So you can match up with people on Xbox if you have a PlayStation 4 when this game comes out, and even during the open beta, you will be able to play Xbox against PlayStation 4 against PC, mouse and keyboard. I'm not sure how the matchmaking exactly works just yet, but you can play with all of your friends on all of their favorite consoles, which is very cool. First Call of Duty to ever do that, and honestly there's not a whole lot of games in the gaming space that are doing that right now, so to see such a huge AAA game like Call of Duty doing that, that is definitely the future of video games, which is very awesome. Now let's get into breaking down the gameplay mechanics, how they're similar and different from previous and existing gameplay mechanics in Call of Duty, starting with number 1, and again these are in no particular order, just whatever order I scribbled them down during the live stream. Unlimited Sprint makes a return in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Apparently they tinkered with limited and unlimited sprint, and unlimited just felt better, which I'm a big fan of. I like the unlimited sprint. It's not the most realistic thing in the world, but they have added a new version of sprint known as the tactical sprint, and this is activated by double clicking your sprint button, and it's only a short burst of speed where your character will lift up his gun up like above his shoulder, and he will run very quickly from one area to another. It's obviously going to be used a little less frequently than your regular sprint because it's a tactical maneuver after all. It's for getting from one set of cover to another really quickly while you're being shot at. So it'll probably take a lot longer for you to take your gun back out and get into gunfights, so you'll have to use it sparingly and with a little bit of consideration. There is health regen in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There is no more stim packs, there's no more shooting yourself up with adrenaline like there is in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. That was a one and done with Black Ops 4. We're back to regenning health over time. Certain game modes you won't actually have health that regens, but in most game modes like core game modes, your health will just regen over time. You should probably know how that works by now. Weapon mounting on cover makes a return from Call of Duty Ghosts, though it's not as obstructive as it was in Call of Duty Ghosts. You can't lean on any object or around anything, but you can mount your weapon on a low surface, a waist-high surface, and that will reduce the recoil of that weapon as well as providing you some cover. You can also lean around certain surfaces, but it remains to be seen how obstructive, how head glitchy that's going to make the game and what they're going to do to balance that in the future. One of the coolest things that they actually talked about during the live stream was doors. There are now interactive doors on all the multiplayer maps, and you can open them in a variety of different ways. It's not just like in Blackout where you press square to open the door, press square to close the door. You can open the door slightly. I don't know how this is going to work in terms of controls, but you can open the door slightly so that you can throw a grenade or a concussion inside the door and then close the door back and stun the people inside before opening it up and attacking them. You can blow open the doors with explosives. You can stack up on the doors like you're breaching and clearing like in the campaign. So a lot of different things that you can do with doors. Not to mention, somewhat embarrassingly, opening and closing doors is something wholly new to Call of Duty multiplayer. We've never been able to just open and close whichever doors we like. To be in the middle of a gunfight with somebody to just close the door on them and just be like, nope. Like, that's something that we've never been able to do, and it's something that could definitely make some of the top plays and some of the more hectic search and destroy games like a lot more interesting, that you could see which doors have been open, which doors have been closed, like could there be somebody behind that door, how are you going to tell? Like, that adds a whole other dynamic, and it's so silly to think about doors. It's been 10 years and we haven't had doors? Like, come on, Call of Duty. And now that they've mentioned it, it's like, it's so obvious. Why haven't we not done this in multiplayer before? So, honestly, I'm excited about doors. That's probably the weirdest sentence I'll ever say. By now, you've likely heard the rumor that there is no minimap included with the heads-up display in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, that rumor is indeed true. There is no minimap unless you activate your own personal radar, which is exactly as it sounds. It's a kill streak that you will earn. It's a UAV that only the person that earns it can actually use. In fact, I'm not entirely certain there even is a UAV of any kind whatsoever in Call of Duty Modern Warfare other than the personal radar, which I'm totally okay with. I understand that UAVs kind of speed up the gameplay a little bit, but they also lead to a lot of UAV whoring where people are sitting in corners waiting for picks because they see your red dot coming around the corner, and it kind of leads to a lot of bullshit deaths in my opinion. So I'm okay to try this for a little while. Like, it'll definitely lessen the amount of people using UAVs on the regular. If it's only a personal UAV, I don't feel like a lot of people are going to run that, because a lot of people like to run the big explosive kill streaks, of which there are plenty. Kill streaks are making a return. These are kill streaks, not score streaks. You have to get kills to earn the streaks. I'm very excited about that. I love that idea. We've kind of gravitated away from kill streaks for the last little while, giving the lesser skilled players the chance to be able to dominate the battlefield because they sat in the hardpoint for the entire game, which is cool. Objective play is great, but give the kill streaks to the people that are getting kills. So kill streaks are making a return. A lot of fan favorite kill streaks will be making a return, a lot of which I won't be mentioning here, but we've got the gunship AC-130. I think I saw a Harrier jet in there. There's a white phosphorus bombing run, UAV or personal radar, of course. Two of the ones that kind of stood out to me are the Juggernaut armor, which we haven't had Juggernaut armor since like Modern Warfare 3. Maybe Ghosts had Juggernaut armor, if I'm not mistaken. They had the Maniac armor, but I can't remember if they had a true Juggernaut. But we're talking the true Juggernaut with a huge minigun. Apparently he plays metal music, like while he's walking around you can listen to metal music while you're playing. Fuck yes, I am down for it. Now, as long as it's not just Metallica Enter Sandman the entire time. That was the song they used for the trailer. I hope they mix it up a little bit, like play me some good metal, please. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to Metallica, but mix it up. Don't just play Enter Sandman. Please, I beg of you. But metal music while you're chewing people up with the minigun sounds badass. I'm so down for that. The infantry assault vehicle is the first of a couple vehicles that they've mentioned will be in the play space. So the infantry assault vehicle is an actual tank that you can call in on certain maps. Apparently on smaller maps, you'll get a smaller size little remote control tank. But the bigger maps, you actually get a tank that you can get in with another player. So co-op kill streaks are back. One person drives the tank and shoots the rockets, and the other person sits on the machine gun at top, and they shoot at people with the machine gun. This is an actual full-size tank that you can drive through the maps. This isn't the only vehicle that will be in the play space either. There will also be ATVs. Later on in the 20v20 ground war, they had people driving around on ATVs, similar to Blackout ATVs, which is kind of cool, but we're kind of getting into Battlefield territory here, and I don't know how I feel about that. I prefer Call of Duty to stay small scale. Even with the 20v20 ground war, keep it in a small scale arena. I don't want to have to drive to go and find enemies. So as long as the vehicles are kind of more self-contained to the maps, I'll be totally okay with that. But that's something to either look forward to or kind of cringe at, depending on where you stand on vehicles in multiplayer games. And last but not least, the streak that got everyone excited right at the very end of the reveal trailer, the tactical nuke is making a return. That is badass. I cannot wait to earn my first tactical nuke. I hope it's an actual kill streak and not just one that's a hidden streak that you just get at 25 kills. It has to be an actual kill streak that you have to physically put on your class to go and earn to make it really worth it. That was what made the tactical nuke in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 so much fun, because you would actually set out with a mission to get that nuke. It wasn't just, oh, well, I'm already at 21 kills, I might as well go for the nuke now. So that was a little bit to do with the game, the gameplay mechanics, the score streaks in the game, that kind of thing. And now we're moving into create a class and weaponry, which was by far the coolest part of the presentation, the thing that got me the most excited about this game. Again, provided they don't fuck it up with microtransactions. So couple weapons that I wanted to mention right off the bat, because they are bringing back a lot of legacy weapons. There are some new weapons, and a lot of the weapons have different customization options, but a lot of existing weapons from previous games and real life weapons are making a return once again. So in the trailer, you probably saw it, the Javelin missile is coming back. There's your first line of defense against those vehicles in the map. We've got the FAMAS, which is a beast. The 3-round burst FAMAS makes a return, and I've seen people crushing it with this gun. It is one of the best guns in the game already. I swear it's going to be nerfed before I even get to touch it, but oh, I'm so excited to use the FAMAS. It was my favorite gun in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Another couple popular guns that you'll probably recognize, something like the M4, the MP5, the MP7, the Type 25, and the Desert Eagle. All of those weapons are making a return in some form or another. The marksman rifle class from Call of Duty Ghosts is making a return, so they're now assault rifles and marksman rifles. Projectiles in the game, so now we're talking about actual firing of the guns. They're projectiles, not hit scans, so when you fire bullets at enemies, they will drop off, they will kind of slow down over time. So on those really, really big maps, and when you're using your sniper rifles and you're shooting from one side of the map to the other, you do have to take into account that your bullets are going to drop off a little bit. So big change there from previous games. I think Black Ops 4 is the only other game in the Call of Duty franchise to have projectiles and not hit scans. That means the bullets are dropping off, not just the second you pull the trigger, they're registering in the enemy's body. So the bullets actually travel through the air in this game using real life like physics engines. So that's something to keep in mind when you're firing your weapons in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, before we dive into what is arguably the biggest and most exciting part of the reveal for Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer, being the Gunsmith, I'd like to touch on Create a Class and how that works first, so that the whole Gunsmith idea is a little more digestible, because if I explain it any other way, you'll likely come out the other side a little confused as to how it all works. So Create a Class is back to a default standard Create a Class setup from the classic Call of Duty games. No more pick 10 system. Instead, you have a primary, secondary, lethal, tactical, perk 1, 2, and 3 slots, and of course, score streaks and field upgrades on top of that, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But your Create a Class is standard, and you can put something in every single slot, and you don't need to worry about taking up pick 10 spots, because thank God they got rid of that system. I'm so sick of the pick 10 system where you can take an attachment or you can take a perk, but you can't take both because one will take up the slot from the other. Instead, your primary weapon and your secondary weapon can both have up to 5 attachments on each of them, and those 5 attachments don't stop you from having extra perks or lethals or tacticals or anything like that. Those 5 attachments are self-contained to their weapon, and you can have 5 attachments on your first weapon, 5 attachments on your second weapon, a grenade, a smoke grenade, and 3 perks. It's amazing. Some of the tactical grenades that made a splash, the heartbeat sensor is making a return. It's no longer a weapon attachment, but instead it is a tactical that you actually have to take out and hold next to your weapon. There's also a snapshot grenade that you throw in and it bounces up into the air, and then it takes a snapshot and it shows you enemy locations through walls. So it's like the MMS from Call of Duty Black Ops 2, but it's just a 1-second snapshot where you throw it into a room and it will show you where people are. It'll put them in a green outline and you can see them for a second, and then you know where they are before you head into that room and start fighting. There are field upgrades now as well. That's kind of like your specialist abilities that we have in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, but these aren't as flamboyant as the specialist abilities. These are field upgrades that you earn by playing the game, and they're very basic. They're kind of like equipment for the most part. They mentioned a trophy system, a tactical insertion, a shield that you can deploy and then mount your gun onto, and stopping power rounds, which are apparently very popular, which I'm not the biggest fan of. If we could take stopping power out of the game ahead of time, that would be really great, because stopping power has always traditionally been overpowered. The last little tidbit about Create a Class that they mentioned a little quietly, quite a ways into the stream, was that you can now upgrade your weapons and your Create a Class on the fly after death. Like in Battlefield, you can now go into your Create a Class when you die, change attachments, change perks, lethals, tacticals, whatever. You can change your entire class between deaths and come back with a new setup. So really happy about that. And now, without further ado, let's hop into the gunsmith. So weapons progress through the gunsmith. It's an attachment system similar to previous games where you level up your guns and you unlock attachments. However, this time there are a lot more attachments for you to use. As I mentioned in the create a class section, your primary and secondary weapon, both of which can have up to 5 attachments on them. Now, it's not always the best choice to have 5 attachments on your weapon because attachments in this game will have pros and cons. You can have a stock that will increase your strafe speed, but it will slow down your ADS time. So there's always a pro and a con to every single attachment. You can have a gun that's absolutely kitted out to make you move around the map as fast as possible, but your recoil might be really bad as a result. So you have to really weigh the options with your attachments, and it's really great that there are so many options because there are between 30 and 60 attachments for every single weapon in the game. That is insanity. 30 to 60 attachments for every single weapon. 30 on the low end for the pistols because there's not enough space on the guns to put a lot of other attachments. But the assault rifles, up to 60 attachments. You can put sniper rifle scopes on assault rifles. You can even do really cool attachments that will change the caliber of certain weapons, change their fire rate. You can completely just change weapons like crazy in depth. One of the examples they made was you can have your AK-47, you can change the caliber and make it into an AK-74U. Like you can put a bump stock on it, you can change it all up and make it short and put on a drum mag, you can turn it into an RPD because they're all so similar. By just changing the attachments, you can make your AK-47 into an LMG or an SMG. What? That's crazy. The gunsmith is insanity. Now, unfortunately, this is where I can see them implementing a microtransaction system. Yeah, there are 60 attachments, but what about those attachments and those attachments being customized? What about attachment options and variations and variants and colors? And why not just throw in a whole bunch of new attachments? Like, oh, you like those attachments? Here's a bunch of other attachments that you can only get in supply drops. And yeah, you'll earn your supply drops and unlock those attachments eventually through supply drops. But if you spend money and buy supply drops, you can get those attachments a little bit quicker. Doesn't that seem a little bit too easy? A little bit too easily monetizable, these attachments? There's so many of them that a lot of people would go over their heads and they'd be like, ah, well, I don't really need to open up crates to get attachments because I already have all of these attachments over here. But they could make a really big difference. Like, I don't know, something about this whole attachment system, and they're not mentioning microtransactions. Again, alarm bells are going off. Like, 60 attachments on every weapon, there's a lot of room there for locking a lot of those attachments behind a paywall. They did mention that a lot of them will be unlocked by just ranking up your gun and using your gun, doing certain challenges with your gun, and that's super cool, and I hope that it stays that way. But I don't know, Activision, they seem kind of greedy. They seem kind of like they want to get their extra 2 cents in there by selling supply drops, and this is probably the best way. I wouldn't mind if there were variants for attachments, like all of the attachments are the same, but they might look a little bit different, like attachment variants that were in Black Ops 3, I believe, had attachment variants. That wouldn't be too bad. Just don't implement completely like brand new attachments that you wouldn't get otherwise into the supply drop system, please, because that would be the end of the game right there for me. I would not be playing the game. So I really hope that this attachment system works out because it's super cool. This gunsmith system that you can completely change guns. Oh, and gun perks are back as well from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. They mentioned that some attachments just don't make sense. They don't want to put in bullshit attachments like, oh, here's a dial on the side of the gun that makes you aim down sights faster, because that's not a realistic thing. So there are a couple perks that you can put on your guns as well. So like things that normally you wouldn't get a benefit from having an attachment on your gun, but maybe if you were trained to use your gun better, then you might be able to use that gun and aim down sights a little bit faster, or you might be able to like withstand the recoil a little bit more. So that's a gun perk that's going to be on your gun as well. So you've got 5 attachments and perks on top of that on all of your guns. Absolutely insane. A couple of the attachments that caught my eye, there was a hybrid dual render scope. So now we've got hybrid scopes are back where you can tilt your gun on the side, and you've got the red dot sight on one side and the scope on the other side. And there's dual render scopes for sniper rifles are back, so you've got the scope where you're aiming in and it's zoomed in the scope, and outside of the scope it's a little bit blurry, but it's not as zoomed in, so you can kind of see your surroundings as well. We've got underbarrel grenade launchers, or noob tubes, making their return. I believe in the trailer I saw an underbarrel shotgun, also known as a master key. So those are a couple attachments that are making their return, which is pretty cool. Speaking of turning your gun on its side to reveal another optic, let's get into game modes. One of the game modes that they played at the reveal event was a dark mode, which had night vision and lasers. So instead of aiming down sights with a lot of your guns, you would actually just bring your gun up and a little laser pointer would shoot off of your gun to show you where you are aiming. Now, when you aim down sights and you activate your laser pointer, other players with their night vision goggles, enemy players with their night vision goggles, will see that laser piercing through the night, and they'll be able to see that and track it back to your position to kill you. So the night mode looks really cool. It's only on certain maps where it's a lot darker and you actually have to use your night vision goggles, which will be available for you in all game modes at all times. You can always activate your night vision goggles, which is something that they haven't had in Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4. Wild that they're finally bringing back night vision, and they're actually making it worthwhile. There's a lot of dark spots on certain maps, and again, there are complete dark modes of maps where everything is in the dark, where you're basically playing the entirety of the game with your night vision goggles on. Certain scopes you can still aim down sights, but again, it puts out a laser, but for the most part you're just kind of bringing your gun up and it tightens the hip fire spread a lot and it points the laser and you're kind of shooting from hip fire. It's a little bit weird to watch. It's a very kind of uncanny valley watching this new way of aiming down sights for the night mode, but looks really, really cool, this night dark mode. In the reveal event, they actually combined dark mode with realism mode, so it was realism dark mode, I think, or realism night mode. And realism isn't exactly hardcore, but it's something pretty similar, and that's where there's no heads-up display whatsoever, and there's no pop-ups to tell you when you're killing people, so you can shoot at somebody and think that you got them, and they might not actually be dead. I believe it was still like 1 or 2 shots to kill with most guns, and again, they mixed that with the dark mode, so that was in night vision, and they had the lasers, and it was very hectic, and really kind of cool modes that they're bringing out for hardcore players. They also had 6v6 classic, so we're going back to 6v6 in the classic modes. Black Ops 4 had 5v5, but that's the only game in the Call of Duty franchise that ever did that, so we're going back to 6v6 once again. There was a new mode called Cyber Attack, which is basically classic sabotage, where there's a central objective that both players are trying to get to, both teams are trying to get to, and they get that, and they bring it to the enemy base, and they plant, it's an EMP, I believe, that they're trying to plant on the enemy base to explode or to detonate at their cyber station, whatever. And it's like search and destroy, so if you die, you're gone and you're out, but you actually go down and you can be revived by your teammates. So it's like old school sabotage mixed with search and destroy, mixed with like search and rescue from Infinite Warfare. So they're mixing it up, they're coming up with a bunch of different new game modes, which is really cool, but they're also bringing back classic game modes that people have loved for years, like Headquarters. Headquarters is making its triumphant return, and the one that they actually played at the reveal event, which didn't really go so well, it kind of crashed a bunch, so I didn't get to see a whole lot of the gameplay. 10v10 Headquarters. Classic Ground War is 9v9, but that is not the biggest ground war that is in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They actually did get a little bit of footage of that at the reveal event, and that was 20v20 ground war, and that is where we saw a couple of the vehicles driving around, people getting on ATVs and driving up to enemy locations and stuff like that. 20v20 is a lot of people for Call of Duty. Like I said, the old style games, like the biggest ground war was a 9v9, that's 18 total players. That there's more than 18 players on a single team in 20v20 ground war. That's pretty wild. And then last but not least, they did a 2v2 bracket, which is the first thing of multiplayer ever revealed for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, was a 2v2 showdown, and that's basically like a mini search and destroy between 2 teams of 2 players, and there's actually a bracket system I've heard in the game that builds its own bracket. So when you sign in to play 2v2 showdown, you can sign in and just play 2v2s with random matches, but you can also sign in and the game itself will build a bracket with a bunch of other people that are playing, and you and your duo partner can play against all those people and try to move up the bracket and become the champion of the bracket really cool if they have this in-game bracket system that I've heard rumors of. I don't think it's been confirmed just yet, but very, very cool if they do get a way to make that happen. 2v2 showdown is kind of a cool idea as well, because obviously in Modern Warfare 3 they had the 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 maps, and there are smaller maps designed for the 2v2 showdown. There's one that looks a lot like Kill House from Call of Duty 4, so that mode looks really fun. That's the mode that you can probably find the most gameplay of. They released a 2v2 showdown trailer a little while ago. All of the trailers, by the way, will be linked in the description of this video. I'll link the new multiplayer reveal, I'll link the 2v2 showdown reveal, all that good stuff. And that is just about it for today's video. I think I've run down all of my 4 categories: the intro, the game, the creative class and weaponry, and the game modes. I'm very excited for this game, but again, microtransactions are going to make the biggest difference here. I need to hear a little bit more about those MTX, because that's what's going to cause the downfall of this game. They have a really, really cool looking game on their hands. They've got the gunsmith, they've got a lot of new gameplay mechanics that could revolutionize Call of Duty, honestly. It's a new engine, or at least an updated engine, so it looks really sleek. There's a lot going for this game, but I don't want to see those microtransactions bring it down. Free season pass, I mean, that's badass as well, but like, I wish they had just said something about the microtransactions so that I could stop stressing about it, because I know that at the end of the day, that is the biggest thing that I have a concern with Call of Duty Modern Warfare and with the Call of Duty franchise going forward. So hopefully the Infinity Ward team can convince Activision to keep their grubby little paws off their project. I know microtransactions in Infinite Warfare were really, really well handled with variants and such. Like, they did a very, very good job with giving everyone the new DLC guns and such. So hopefully the Infinity Ward team can keep Activision at bay, at least for a little while. I also don't want to see them release the game and say, hey, no microtransactions, and then a month later add supply drops. That's another big no-no. So I'm really hoping that they can make this game work, because from everything I've seen, I'm very excited for it. I'm a big Infinity Ward fanboy. I've loved the Modern Warfare series for the longest time, so I'm beyond the moon excited for this game. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff here, and I spend a lot of time watching that reveal over and over, and all the gameplay and the maps and the guns and the everything is just so nice. I don't want to see it ruined by some greedy upper-ups at Activision. So let me know what you think of the reveal in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, that helps me out a lot, and I will catch you guys all on the next video.